Hello everybody, I want to thank you for tuning in. If you happen to catch the live event a couple days before New Year's Day, I did state that I finally got the numbers caught up on the detailed pay breakdown from 21, 22, and 23. Now, part 3, if you want to go back, you can do a replay on part 3 of the video series here, and it goes over my first full year. Well, I've got the comparison now year over year. I want to let you know two things to help you guys out that have a very low tolerance for numbers and boring videos. You can click the little gear icon, I don't know where it is on your screen, and you can increase the playback speed, get through it a little faster. I apologize, I have to engage the brain before I put the mouth in gear. I'm sorry, it's just the way I am. I just got a 286 processor up here. But the other thing is, for people with a low tolerance for long videos, I also am going to go right to the bottom line. And for those of you that want to see the nitty-gritty of how we arrived at the numbers, just keep watching, and we'll go down line by line by line. Couple things I wanted to state. What you're not going to find in these numbers is actually some of you might be amazed or at least surprised at the number of driver referrals that I have. Now, that's not a normal component of a normal driver's pay. You actually have to expend a certain amount of effort if you want to pursue driver referrals, but they're not going to be listed here. That's for another video, which we got coming up real soon. So, with that being said, let's get into the numbers and we'll take it from here. Thanks, guys. Drivers, here we are. I want to show you how I got this set up. The top part of this is kind of closely resembles the top of the paycheck. Not exactly, but then in the middle, a lot of this blue is activities that you get paid for. And then I have other numbers down here, miles and hours and all that stuff. But I want to show you right here, I've got 21, 22, 23, the quantities of each category of items. And over here we have the corresponding pay. Now, I told you guys to go right to the bottom line. And right here. So, my first full year at Walmart. This is total value. This is not necessarily showed up in the paycheck, but I'll show you how we get there if you want to follow along. But 96, 103, and 109 for almost 110 for my third year. But I want to show you what actual paycheck. Let me scroll down here. Okay. Right here, these three numbers in green are the actual gross paycheck. So we were first year 91, 97, and then 99, my third year. Now, a big part of it, well, I'm not going to let you guys down. I'm not going to bounce around here. But down here, these other things of value is what brought us up to this number. And just notably, right here, your associate store discount. I don't know how much I saved on that. I'm sure I could have went into the computer to look at the value. I think they share that with us. And then the Walmart Plus membership, how much I saved on fuel. I don't use it all that much. I got a very short trip to work, so I don't know what the value is. But some people that put a lot of miles in, or your spouse puts a lot of miles in, this can save you some money. But the other compensation value, which I'll throw in there, brings it up to these three numbers here. And then I got it broke down, real earnings per mile. That's everything you see here divided by the number of miles driven each year. And then the hourly rate. Your hours are very accurately recorded, and I can compare my total pay divided by the number of hours. I've got the hours listed right here. Total hours per year. 32, 3,000, and then 3,100 was the total number of hours. And those are accurate hours that I actually worked, because you don't do anything off the clock at Walmart. So with this red down here, one thing that was a little confusing is when I was performing tasks as a mentor, I'm sitting in the right seat. So my miles driven, come back up here, right here, my miles were fairly low in 23. Only 83,000 miles for the year, but this is miles I drove, where it says miles driven. Now, there is a component of pay. As a mentor, I'm sitting in the right seat. I am not getting paid by the miles, or by the mile. So we had pay that was up over here, $33.45. I did very little mentoring this past summer, but when I take this amount of money, it's $3,300 out of it, that brings my pay per mile, total compensation by the mile divided by the miles I've driven, $1.27 a mile, which, if you calculate the hours in, it's close to $34 per hour, which is down from the prior year a little bit, but definitely up from that year. The main reason, like I said, we're going to go back up to the top eventually, but I want to show the mileage rate right here. When I first started, I was at 50.5 cents per mile. We had that big pay raise that came about in 22. It brought us up 6 3/4. Now, mind you, I also have your first 3 years, you get a raise each time you go over your 1 year, 2 year, 3 year anniversary mark, in addition to any, company-wide cost of living raise. But I'm currently at 60 cents per mile as my base rate of pay. So just trying to show you how that factored in there. This is the number of miles I drove that first year, the second year, and the third year. Now, mind you, the pay stayed pretty flat here, but that cents per mile changed that big time. So let's go back up to the very beginning here. Okay, meetings. What are included in meetings? There's different meetings. The one that comes to mind that a brand new driver might partake in is called a grassroots meeting, where your general transportation manager may share with a select number of drivers that decide to sign up and go into the grassroots meeting. He'll share the current state of affairs with the business. That happens, you may participate in that once or twice a year. And that looks like they had on that first year probably 2 hours. And then I, as a driver ambassador, you can see now I started my duties as a driver ambassador in 22. And as I get better in my job and better at making these appointments to meet the store management, you can see it's gone up. So that's what's in meetings. And this is paid at 1/10 of your ADP. Now, down here, ADP, kind of where we see a slash, I got the split between the right half and the left half of the screen. So my ADP from the end of the year paycheck for each year is over here corresponding. So if you look at the last year, 23, just move that decimal point over 1, and my hourly rate of pay would be $37.30 per hour for things that Walmart desires that I do or wishes for me to do that prevent me from earning my normal income through driving and activity. So that's why these things are paid in the average daily pay. They consider a normal day to be 10 hours. So meetings, let's say last year, the $37 per hour. So that's how we get to the ADP. Schedule time. What's included in that? Well, that's something, again, that Walmart may want you to do that prevents you, that time that you use may prevent you from your normal means of earning your income. The first one that comes to mind is if they send you for a random urinalysis or drug test, you're gonna get paid your hourly rate of pay to go partake in that. There are things called Walmart approved functions. Sometimes they may send you up to Bentonville for a shareholders meeting or other events, special events that they've got going on that Walmart has approved and wants you to partake in. That is a Walmart approved function. Last year, now we were training out at Cleburne. Scheduled time, some of that for me was a travel day. If they packed a bunch of us in the van and we all drove out there as a group, we would earn our hourly rate of pay under a travel day or travel pay. You may catch a ride with another driver to go recover a tractor. Maybe it's at the Peterbilt dealership in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You're going to get paid your hourly rate of pay to go up there and get it. Because if you're riding in the right seat, how are you going to get paid? You're not going to get paid by the mile. You're going to get paid a scheduled time if they've planned on you to do that. Training. Now, everybody at Walmart, every driver receives training. That's what this category is. Number one, we have our spring and our fall training. That happens each year for every driver. We also have computer-based learning, which includes Centix. Now, Centix is more DOT-required type of computer-based recurring training, like for hazmat. The CBLs are more about the computer-based learning. The other ones we have are for more about Walmart company policies and things like that. This is when you're receiving training, that is the corresponding pay. Also, we have something called the AIMS course. That is Advanced Inspection Maneuvering Skills, and it is a closed course, close proximity driving, where you hone your tight quarters driving skills out in the back 40 of the trailer lot. That would be something there. And then trainer is for drivers that are functioning as driver mentors, and also the CDTs would find them, the certified driver trainers would be getting a lot of trainer pay. Okay, going down from here. PTO, paid time off, days used. You could also put the word redeemed there. Now remember, your paid time off, you accumulate it simply by being on duty. Every hour you're on duty on the Walmart time clock, you will be accumulating paid time off. It's paid out at your ADP. You do not have to use full days. You can use partial days. If you have a bad day where you had low miles and very little activity, you can actually go in the computer and you can make your day whole. You can take a day where you maybe earned $150 and you can bring it up to your $300 or $400 average daily pay. It will draw out of your PTO balance. So it's paid hourly rate there. Now, if you look here and compare these 3 years, there's a lot paid out in 22. That number's a lot bigger. I'm going to share with that why that's so big. But safety days, you can earn 4 of those per year. They're paid out in the same way. You get a day off paid, and I just happened for curiosity listed the hours here because you earn 10 hours off on a safety day. So it looks like I earned and redeemed or used 4 safety days in 21. Now this particular year in 22, I remember I've earned every safety day since I've been here. So I only used 3 of them. And I probably rolled one over. I don't remember the details, but I probably rolled the 4th one over to the new year, hence the 5 days that was used here. And the corresponding pay. Now, at the end of the year, our fiscal year ends at the end of January. Any paid time off in excess of 10 days, they will pay out. You can roll 10 days over of your regular paid time off, and you can roll 1 safety day over at the end of the year. So you can can see from the first year I did not have anything in excess of 10. Remember, only in excess of 10 will they pay out. There's no other way to cash out of your paid time off unless you utilize the day off or you wait till the end of the fiscal year and they pay it out, anything in excess of 10. Anything less than 10 they will automatically keep in your balance. So we got there, like I said, kind of used most of them up. They only had for 23, I guess I only had a partial day left on there. Safety bonus. Now, if you've earned your safety bonus and your safety day, they're tied together. There is a pay factor besides the day off. This up here is a day off. This down here is pure money. 2 3/4 cents per mile and 50 cents per arrival is how that works. Whether it's arrival at a DC or a store or a vendor. And you can see how this works out. Now, you're like, well, geez, John, why is that going down? Well, remember, look down here. Remember, it's based on cents per mile and arrival. Look down here. I had 98,000 miles my first full year. I went down 7,000 miles. And then here, even down further. However, where do we got arrivals? You know, arrive, drop here. They're similar, but these two numbers are lower than the first year, and even these two numbers are lower than the first year. So if you look up here, remember I said cents per mile and per arrival? The first year was the highest, and it's gone downhill because I did less of those. Let's put it that way. Okay. Company stock contribution. If you put in $70 per paycheck, the company will put in $10.50. So that's how we arrive at the 203. I don't know why one year was 200. I'm just not sure on that. But so if you put in $70 per paycheck, they put in $10.50. That means you're going to be buying through your payroll $80.50. By the way, that $70 gets you the maximum match by Walmart. Okay. And so each year, it shows how many shares I had by the end of the year. It's just automatic, comes out of the paycheck. So at the end of 23, this is kind of where I'm at on my shares. It's kind of, the stock is about what, $160? So if I'm putting in between me and the company $80 a month, guess what? Every month I get one share. And I've been here, a little bit more than 3 years. So this would make sense why this is at this amount. I know the shares got down in the 150s, I think, in the past few years. But that's the part of it, their buy-in that goes on your paycheck. And the Walmart Plus membership, they didn't offer it to us then, but it must have been sometime during this year they offered it to us. And because they are giving it to you, they are giving you value, and therefore it's showing up on your paycheck as having received value there. I didn't receive that as money, but it was definitely part of the pay package. Okay, I tell you what, let's bring this up top of the screen. Hopefully you guys won't get too lost in this. Okay, over here, I've got it broken down. I think I went over this. 50.5 cents my first year. We had the big pay raise and my annual raise. And then I don't remember if we even had a penny or not that last year, but either way, it might have been my annual raise and maybe a penny. But there's the miles for the year, corresponding pay. Weekend miles. If you have to work the whole complete weekend in order to earn the 7 cents per mile. But that's for every mile driven from midnight Friday night, in other words, the first minute of Saturday, through Sunday night at midnight, right before the first minute of Monday. All of those miles driven during that time will get you an extra 7 cents per mile. So, an extra $2,500 to $3,000 for working weekends. I actually have started to like it a lot. I find it's a little bit more laid back on the weekends. Seems to be a little bit more miles, and these are the miles driven over the weekends. These are Saturday and Sunday miles each week. Layovers. This has remained unchanged. You're sleeping in the truck 4 nights per week. You see a number that it went down here by 9 nights less in the truck. That's because I took more paid time off. So you got a 5-day work schedule. You're going to sleep in the truck 4 nights. And what's really sweet about that, we're looking at $8,000 just for sleeping in the truck every night. Don't get caught being at your house with your truck parked nearby. It's a big no-no. And then these pays here for activities, these are the current rate of pay. They were lower. They've gone up with that big pay raise we talked about in 22. So let's take a look at this hooks. Oh, I forgot to tell. Okay, so every location is going to have 2 components of activity. So that is DCs, stores, vendors. You're always going to have 2 components of your pay every time you stop somewhere. Now, when you leave your DC, you're only going to get half of it when you leave. And when you arrive back to your DC, you'll get the other half. That's where I say you have 2 components. But let's say you go to a store to deliver. I leave the DC. I hook at the DC. You get paid $10. You arrive at a store and do a drop. It pays $11.50. And then you hook at the store. That's $10. So an arrive drop, $11.50 and $10. That's $21.50 that you would get paid to stop at a store. Let's say you're on a grocery run and you hook at the grocery DC, get your $10, and then you arrive at a store with a grocery delivery. You're going to get your $11.50 at the store, but let's say you live unload, then you're going to get your $12.50. So that's actually going to be $24 for each stop on a grocery load. Now, I meant to say live unload. I'm sorry. You hook at the grocery DC, do a live unload. It's the same pay, but I had the wrong word there. Okay, let's go back up here. Now, comparing, these numbers are commensurate with the amount of miles we drove. Obviously, there's going to be less. One thing I want to show you here is that this is the additional stops. If you go from 50 to 75, that's a 150% increase. And if we show the live unloads, look at this. Let's just round this to 100 and this to 150. Again, 50% increase. Live loads, I told you this before, it's amazing how much is preloaded with Walmart. 34 live loads. Now that can be at a vendor, like a water plant, or let's say Clorox or Procter & Gamble, wherever it may be. That's the total number of live loads I had in 21. It's gone down in 22, and look at this number in 23. This is everything else I hauled was preloaded. Only 17 loads out of the entire year did I have to wait for them to put the product in the trailer. So going back up here, stop drop, that's kind of rare, but you may stop and drop the trailer and bob out. That's kind of where that would happen. You're not going to hook, because normally you'd have a stop, or I should say an arrive and a drop, or a stop and a drop. So there are very few of them. And arrivals, the arrive will always be paired with arriving at a location and then live loading or live unloading. That's why the arrives are there. But those numbers, I kind of color coded these, were things that stood out. These ones in the white are kind of kind of normal numbers. But in the live loads, like I said, that went down. Live unloads, that went up. This was because of the Cleburne transition from a major dedicated fleet servicing the Cleburne, Texas facility. We took it over. I shouldn't say took it over. We put our private fleet in there running it instead of the major carrier. That's why we've got a lot more live unloads and a lot more additional stops. By the way, refrigerated loads, 9 times out of 10, you're going right back to your DC. They need the refrigerated trailer for another load, so you're always going right back. Down here, unscheduled time. Unscheduled time is usually waiting at a DC or a vendor or a store to get unloaded or loaded, and breakdown pay. That can happen at a DC, out on the road, wherever it happens to be. $15 per hour. All of the rest of these are paid per activity. Okay, so all these are per occurrence. This is 15. I should have put $15. Tell you what we can do. We can put it right there right now. $15 per hour. There we go. Fixed it. All right, and this is the number of hours in 21. 312 went way down. Got a little bit more efficient during 22. And had a little bit more in 23 here. And the corresponding pay. So, everything you've seen from here up, these are all the occurrences. This is the corresponding pay. And this is actually how much hit the paycheck. The gross pay. You know, before deductions and taxes and all that stuff. Let's scroll up here then and go to our averages. Bring it right up to the number there. Okay, and we have already discussed the average daily pay. By the way, it says from the end of the year paycheck. These change from check to check. Every single check, your ADP will change. So if you redeem some paid time off or a safety day, the pay is gonna change from one moment to the next. Usually they change by just a partial $1 or $2 each paycheck, but these are what they were for the end of these 3 years. Down here, days worked. I worked 243 days in 21. Remember I told you I took more time off in 22? I worked 10 days less. And then right back in 23, I worked almost the same as I did the first year. Now, what do we got? Daily gross. This number here is roughly, this number here. Let's just take the last year for an example, 411. That is this number, my total paychecks for the year, gross, divided by the number of days I worked. So that was the daily gross. You're going to see, if you look at this, 411 is different than 3730. There are certain things that are not included in your ADP. Scroll back up a minute. These things are not included in your ADP. Your average daily pay is things that you performed that you earned your money from mileage and activity. These are all activities. These are not activities. These are different pay categories. So let's go back down here. Okay, so this may have been what the actual, gross paycheck was divided by the number of days worked. So you can see it started lower, it went up because of the pay raise. Translated into every day earning more money than that first year. So I've got the hours worked. At the end of each week, I reconcile my pay in the computer You want to make sure it's all right, because once Friday night at midnight hits, you're done. If there was any mistakes in there, well, they're done. You got to make corrections before midnight of Friday night every 2 weeks. But this is the number of hours that I worked on the Walmart time clock. My paid time off accumulation is based on these numbers. And then I have the hourly gross. So I have, okay, let me go back. I took this number and divided it by the hours worked each year. And that's where we came up with our hourly rate of pay, hourly gross. Okay, this number is not printed anywhere. It just works out that way. Average hours per day. See, the first year I had a little bit longer days. We started trimming it down a little bit here. I may have had, let me think here. I thought I had a mistake on one of these. I may have had a mistake on my first sheet. I may have been averaging it by dividing out the days wrong or something, but either way. Okay, so average hours per day, we got that. Oh, this is what it was. Is it? No, I'm sorry. If you look back at the original sheet, the average miles per day, that was wrong. I forgot to point that out. It was because I had a lower number. I think it was 377, because I was taking the average miles per week right here, and I was dividing it by 5. But you don't, what if you only work 3 days a week? Well, that would be wrong. So what I did is I took the average miles for the year divided by the number of actual days worked. So this number is more accurate. This is my average miles per day, and you can see it's gone down just like right here. It's gone down. And then we got down here. Okay, these numbers here. So we got our gross cents per mile. That was that number. Each one of these divided by the number of miles. First year, 93 cents a mile, 107. This one here, you know, I just realized you see down here the red one, I made a little modification due to the training miles. But let's just say this is probably, you know, about 5 cents lower. But I just want to show you a gross paycheck per mile driven. This is what it is. This is roughly average per week pay. And this one is roughly my gross paycheck amount every 2 weeks. You know, you only get paid every 2 weeks, so just giving you the weekly and the every 2 weeks. Okay, so now let's bring this up right to the title there. Okay, so now end of the year PTO balance. Remember, we got these only starting 21, but I had, and I went over this on the part 3, maybe in a little bit better detail, but at the end of the year, I had a paid time off balance of 63 hours. At the end of 21, I had 173 hours. That right here, end of the year, paid time off, increase or decrease. This was an increase. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because you automatically accumulate your paid time off. Just by being at work, I don't know what it comes out to. That's one number I forgot to put on here. It might be, I don't know, $2.50 per hour or $3 per hour, but you're going to earn that for every hour you're on duty. Because if I remember right, when you first start out, if you work 125 hours, you get one paid day off, which, remember, is valued at 10 hours at your ADP. So, this is an increase of 110. Now those hours, you never, when you earn them, they're in like a bank account. They're banked. You haven't received them, so you haven't actually got it. You got the value, you earned the value, but you haven't redeemed it or got paid for it. So over here, the value of that 110 hour increase was $3,700. Now, like I said, end of the year balance, 173. Now see, from 21 to 22, my balance went down. I decreased my PTO balance by just about 50 hours. Okay, now this is really important here. This 50 hours, it would have been paid at, I don't know if the math is right, I'm not going to do it right here, but basically $35.96 per hour. And like I said, the numbers are not going to match because this changes from check to check. But let's just say 50 times $36 an hour. If you go back up to the top, remember this number is a lot bigger than the other two numbers next to it. That's because I used or / redeemed paid time off. So it went into my paycheck. So the things that go into the paycheck show up on this number, total paycheck gross wages. Things that are accumulated but are not paid out are going to be, there's going to be value there. So, like I said, I hope you guys can follow the bouncing ball here. So, from 22 to 23, I increased my PTO balance by 117 hours. That means I received, well, I shouldn't say received, I banked $4,300 of value that is sitting there waiting for me to take out, but it didn't get paid to me. This is why this bottom, where I'm adding in the value of what we've got, of paid time off. I accumulated it, but did not receive it. Okay, going on down. Matching 401k, not showing the pay. Your 401k, Walmart, by the way, they're really good about this. They match up to your 6% dollar for dollar. It does not start out until the first pay period begins after you've completed 1 year of service. So you've got to complete 1 year of service, and then when the next pay period begins after you've completed 1 year of service, then they'll start matching your funds dollar for dollar. And you know what's amazing? You're fully vested from day one. The money they put in there, it's yours. I know the last company I was at, they would give you a 10-cent match for every year that you were with the company. So after year one, they'd give you a 10-cent match per dollar that you put in, up to the 6%. It would take 5 years before they started matching 50 cents on the dollar. I'm just comparing. It was really not that good. They said dollar for dollar. I'm like, no, 50 cents is not a dollar. That was at 5 years. So, and I don't know. But so here you go. Dollar for dollar match. The first year, remember, I just started, come the fall of that second, calendar year that I was working for them. So that's why that was small. But if you look at here, basically my wages going up here, this number times the 6%, because I was always matching. This was their buy-in into my retirement. Now, this is value received. It's not showing up on your paycheck, though, because it's paid into your 401k account. So it's not going to be on your paycheck, but it is very definitely value received. They funded your 401k with that money. They went into there. So the other ones I mentioned, well, at least I think it did. This is not the first take on this video, by the way. Associate store discount, 10% off general merchandise at Walmart stores. I don't keep track of that. And the Walmart Plus membership. For some of you, if you and your spouse buy a lot of fuel, 10 cent per gallon fuel discount is pretty good. And it does not have to be at a Murphy or a Walmart gas station. It also includes Exxon gas station. So I don't know what the value is there. So I don't know. But totaling these values up, I call it other compensation value added to your employment. Whoop, I don't want to slide away. Right here. And I took these numbers and simply added it to the gross paycheck amount. And that's how we arrived at the total compensation value for my employment is right here. If we average it out by the mile, this one here is a little bit of an anomaly. That's why I had to go and do the math. I added this on today. It's actually a little bit lower when you take off the time I spent in the right seat, excluding the right seat trainer pay. So about 5 cents per mile. Now, depending how much training you're doing, this number could change a lot more. But for every mile, up there in the top up there, every mile that I drove, this amount of money divided by every mile yielded me $1.27 per mile as a company driver. And hourly pay went down a little bit from the prior year, but still some pretty good numbers. I know there's some owner-operators that cringe to see numbers like this, and they got to pay for their trucks and insurance and maintenance. And guys, I've been there. I know all about owner-operators. I've been an independent. But as a company driver, this is pretty nice. So I just want to share this stuff with you guys. I hope it helps you out in understanding. You can always ask me questions via email or in the comment section. I have no problem discussing this stuff. At Walmart, you own your pay. They will tell you that if you make mistakes, you better fix them. You've got access to modify a lot of the stuff in the computer at work. And these numbers, I own them. They're mine. They're my pay. And I hope it helps you out. Like I said, you can get a hold of me at johngrazer36395@gmail.com. And my referral number, if anybody wants to use me as a referring driver, is John Grazer. That's Graser. Driver referral number 36395. I work out of the Palestine, Texas office. That's 6836. And trying to think here what else to share. But guys, I hope it helps you out. I really like to engage with the questions. It's a very, very complex plan, but this is basically how it works. There are other pay categories for other parts of the country. Like if you got a chain up out west in the mountains, they got chain up pay. They've got snow removal pay for removing snow from the roofs of the trailers. You know, you have scrapers at some of the yards. There's a lot of other things that you can get paid for, but this is how my pay was oriented with all of these categories. So, guys, I want to thank you. Keep in touch, and by all means, any questions, shoot them over, and we'll talk later. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.